Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar, the fourth in a series on electronics manufacturing services in the Philippines. This event is organized by the various Philippine Trade and Investment Centers in the U.S. and the Philippine Board of Investments. My name is Graham Payne, your moderator for today. I'm a certified strategic sourcing professional through the Procurement and Supply Institute of Asia. I spent a number of years working in Silicon Valley as well as in high-tech Philippines. I currently work as a supply chain analyst, bringing together US-based customers and Philippine suppliers and service providers. Today's webinar is entitled EMS Industry 4.0, Connected Factories and Supply Chain Development in Asia. A central theme of this webinar series is based on how Philippine companies adjusted to supply chain disruptions brought on by the global pandemic and to the increasing need for supply chain diversification. Diversification both mitigates risk and allows for the ability to rapidly respond to unexpected opportunities created in the wake of regional and global supply chain disruption. The Philippines offers a capable and competitive solution for customers looking to mitigate supply chain risk. Today's webinar features presentations from Undersecretary Dr. Rafaelita Aldaba, who heads the DTI's Competitiveness and Innovation Group, and from Mr. Perry Ferrer, Chairman and CEO of the EMS Group. The webinar will last 1 hour with 45 minutes allocated for the presentations, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A and panel discussion. Please feel free to submit questions anytime during the presentations using the Q&A box on the bottom right corner of your screen. To officially begin our program, we'd like to share a keynote recorded message from DTI Secretary Mr. Ramon Lopez.
A pleasant day to all. We hope everyone is keeping themselves safe and healthy during this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for attending this event in line with our new marketing brand campaign, the Make It Happen in the Philippines, to promote our country as an attractive and reliable destination for investments. In particular, we want to highlight our country's competencies on highly specialized electronics subsectors while also promoting our electronics manufacturing services, or EMS. Our two nations share a long history of trade, culture, and economic ties. In 2019, the US was the Philippines' third major trading partner, top export market, and fourth top import supplier. Bilateral trade between the Philippines and the US last year amounted to $19.6 billion US dollars, higher than the $18.7 billion US dollars in 2018. Moreover, our balance of trade in that period was at a positive $3.49 billion, higher than the previous year's $2.57 billion. Furthermore, the US was our sixth top partner in approved investments in 2019 with $226.45 million US dollars. And in the first quarter of this year, you were already our second top partner with $112.98 million US dollars. Despite the setbacks and challenges brought about by the pandemic, the Philippines still remains a conducive place to do business and is considered one of the top emerging economies and countries for investments. Reputed business magazine, The Economist, ranked the country as the sixth emerging economy with high financial strength. CEO World magazine placed Philippines within the top 10 countries to invest in post-COVID. Both the World Bank and the IMF also predict a good economic recovery for the country, with forecasts of 6.2% to 6.8% respectively by 2021. Hence, we are working on rebuilding the economy's robust growth at the same level, if not higher than the pre-COVID levels. Just recently, our country got a much-needed boost as we rank among the safest economies in the world. The Philippines placed 12th among the 50th countries based on the highly respected Gallup's 2020 Global Law and Order report. It's worth noting that we are in the same level as Australia and New Zealand. we call on our American investors to take a closer look at how you can partner with the Philippines. You will see how we can ably support your business expansion plans and provide you with a deeper insight on how to make it happen in the Philippines. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you, Secretary Lopez, for the welcome remarks and for sharing the positive developments occurring in the Philippines today. It's indeed worth noting that the Philippines has been ranked as one of the safest economies in the world, the same level as countries such as Australia and New Zealand. Our first speaker, Dr. Aldaba, fulfills a key role in the formulation and implementation of the Inclusive Innovation Industrial Strategy, the I3S, which puts innovation at the heart of the country's new industrial policy. Apart from manufacturing resurgence and industry roadmaps, she also leads the DTI's initiatives in establishing an inclusive innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in collaboration with other government agencies, industries, and the academe. She's also in charge of the competitiveness and research work of the DTI, focusing on supply chain and logistics, e-commerce, accreditation of conformity assessment bodies, and trade and industrial policy. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Rafaelita Aldaba.
Thank you, Graham. I'm just sharing my screen. Can you view my screen? Can you view my screen? Yeah.
Yes, Yusek.
Okay. Good afternoon to all those watching from the US, and good morning to all of us here in Manila. I hope you are all staying safe and well in these trying times. Thank you to the Philippine Trade and Investment Center and the Board of Investments for organizing the Make It Happen in the Philippines webinar, focusing on the electronics manufacturing services. The Philippines is a story of a country that has been seen as an economic star with an average growth of 6.2% in the last 10 years. But just as we reached an inflection point, the pandemic hit us. And like most countries, our growth contracted. And this brought us in our first recession since 1998 during the Asian financial crisis. Manufacturing and services, as you can see on the slide, contributed largely to the strong growth in the last 10 years, with manufacturing growing at an average of 5.8%, while services posted 7.2%. Manufacturing was actually at the cusp of a resurgence, but with the crisis, the industry contracted. The manufacturing sector, however, has been showing signs of gradual recovery, as you can see on the production indicators, as more sectors of the economy reopen. Production indicators also showed gradual improvements. The country's macroeconomic fundamentals remain solid and strong. Investment-grade credit ratings have been affirmed by Fitch Ratings, Moody's Investors Service, and Standard & Poor's, despite the economic headwinds. And more recently, the Global Innovation Index 2020 ranked the Philippines 50th out of 131 countries. This is up from 54th in 2019. This is the first time that the Philippines has breached the top 50 of the Global Innovation Index, which recognizes the country as an innovation achiever for the second year in a row. Note that the Philippines is number 3 in terms of high-tech net exports and number 8 in ICT services exports. Now, for 2020, the Board of Investments registered investments over 15 billion US dollars, and we expect this to reach 22 billion early this year. The Philippines continues to boast of our young and highly educated population with a median age of 24, the youngest in ASEAN, and over 790,000 graduates in 2018-2019, more than 200% of more than 200,000 of which are in engineering, in information technology, and medical related fields. Industry 4.0 is likewise introducing new changes to the employment landscape in the Philippines. According to LinkedIn, the top emerging jobs in the Philippines are all STEM related. As you can see on the slide, we've listed the top 10. And this signals growing prospects among workers and businesses on technology application and innovation. Amid the pandemic, we continue to implement our new industrial policy known as Inclusive Innovation Industrial Strategy. This new strategy focuses on innovation and aims to grow globally competitive and innovative industries by embracing Industry 4.0 technologies to create new products, services, and new business models, closing the gaps in our domestic supply chain and deepening our participation in global value chains. We are adopting Industry 4.0 technologies to create new industries and upgrade our existing economic activities. Using technologies like voice recognition, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, robotics, 5G connectivity, and industrial Internet of Things, we are positioning the Philippines towards the creation of new products or solutions in areas such as smart buildings and smart home technology, digital health, e-gaming, smart assistants, vehicle technology, resilient technology, along with audio, video, and edtech. We have lined up the following Industry 4.0 readiness initiatives. We are working with the UNIDO in crafting Industry 4.0 roadmaps for electronics, automotive, aerospace, and agribusiness. We are also conducting a feasibility study for the establishment of an Industry 4.0 pilot factory together with an Industry 4.0 SME Academy to provide trainings to our small and medium enterprises. We are working with the academe on the formulation of an AI roadmap to make the Philippines an AI center of excellence. And of course, we are also formulating an HRD roadmap in order to reskill and upskill our workforce in preparation for Industry 4.0. We will also be implementing a program that would provide fiscal and non-fiscal support to companies that would be shifting to Industry 4.0 technologies. We are also building regional inclusive innovation centers to serve as platforms that would link the innovation stakeholders with entrepreneurs. The goal is to accelerate the commercialization of R&D investments, as well as to create new products and services using Industry 4.0 technologies. And right now, we have two regional centers focusing on innovation in electronics, and these are located in Calabarzon and Cebu. The electronics industry is an important growth driver with over 500 electronics and electrical firms in the country, providing 3.2 million jobs, including Texas Instruments, Continental, Amcor, Shukiden, Filipino companies such as EMS, IMI, Ionics, and others that are producing sensors, communication and radar, telecommunication, and auto electronics products, among others. The industry is the third largest contributor to the manufacturing industry output. Computer, electronic, and optical products posted a 6% growth during the last quarter of 2020. Electronics also remains the major contributor to the country's total exports with a share of 61% and amounting to 35 billion US dollars in 2020. The industry aspires to create the electronics manufacturing services ecosystem and upgrade our position in the electronics global value chain by focusing on the manufacturing of drones, autonomous vehicles, smart home devices, virtual reality devices, digital health devices, microsatellite, wearable solar devices, 3D printers, along with cobots. We are also positioning the Philippines to be one of the regional manufacturing hubs for electric vehicle and EV parts in ASEAN. We are working on an electric vehicle incentive strategy, which will provide both fiscal and non-fiscal support to EV manufacturing as well as to EV consumer adoption. Given our strengths in electronics and automotive manufacturing, we are targeting auto electronic components such as advanced driver assistance systems, sensors, AI technology, AR, VR, electric motor powertrains, together with battery and energy storage systems and engineering services outsourcing. As we move towards Industry 4.0 activities, we are harnessing our strength in IT by connecting the IT BPM sector with automotive and electronics. For automotive, Denso has one of its design centers in the Philippines, providing global engineering capacity such as software development for auto products. A Filipino multinational, IMI, has been manufacturing complex safety and control systems for ADAS applications. Established and dependable Tier 1 and 2 suppliers to the world's largest aerospace manufacturers are already operating in the Philippines, including Lufthansa Technik and Collins Aerospace. Philippine telecommunications companies PLDT and Smart announced that they would be launching enterprise-grade IoT services, while Globe, in partnership with Astrata, is also improving its existing IoT-enabled fleet management system. These are all very important investments to build our digital infrastructure in preparation for Industry 4.0. The pandemic has accelerated the penetration of advanced technologies in our systems, and the same technologies will help as we transition towards a rapid, inclusive, and sustainable economic recovery. As the virus is contained and with global recovery, the Philippines will be able to take advantage of the emerging opportunities and challenges from shifting trade and investment preferences. And to realize this, we are fast-tracking innovation and adopting new technologies with greater focus on strengthening the electronics manufacturing services in the Philippines. Thank you very much, and back to you, Graham.
Thank you, Dr. Aldaba. An outstanding presentation. I've heard your presentations a number of times and always greatly appreciate and highly value your insights. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Mr. Perry Ferrer of the EMS Group. Mr. Ferrer returned to the Philippines after 22 years of working in Canada, the US, Europe, and China in the military and aerospace electronics industry. Perry has been with the EMS Group for 15 years, starting as managing director and currently the chairman and CEO of the EMS Group of companies. He's also a catalyst, Philippine manufacturing industry in terms of his leadership roles with the following organizations: the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, the Confederation of Philippine Manufacturers of PPE, the Federation of Economic Zones Service Providers, the Philippine Exporters Confederation, the Philippine-Japan Economic Cooperation Committee, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, and the Semiconductor and Electronics Industries in the Philippines. And on that note, I'll hand the session over to Perry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Graham, and to our colleagues and to our friends from the United States, East Coast, good evening, and to the West Coast, good afternoon, and to my fellow Filipinos here, good afternoon, and welcome to the program. Let me just share my screen. And before I go to my presentation, I'd like to show a 10-minute video about our company, our factories, and our facilities and capabilities. And then we go to our presentation. Enjoy the video. now you're gonna see where our products are used. Aside from the face mask, we do not have our own product. So where you see that green sparkle, that's where our products, or we assemble products for those industries. We manufacture and assemble products that are used on our everyday life and assemble products for OEM. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you got a flavor of what our company does. We do assemble and manufacture products for OEM companies, except for the face mask that we started last year due to the pandemic and with the government request to repurpose a section of our factory. That was our own product is the medical grade face mask. But other than that, we are a true EMS company and assembled product. We have roughly close to 18,000 employees, from which 300 currently at this month, we have around 340 engineering and technical headcount, with over 17,000 now in our assembly in manufacturing. We're located in the Metro Manila and down south in Cebu. So these are the products that we assemble and our capabilities, from PCB assembly, to transceivers for satellites, and also contract manufacturing where full product assembly is required. We do have engineering services that we support the semiconductor industry here in the Philippines. As you can see, you've seen earlier, from server type storage devices all the way to the electronics on an ATM machine, to printers, the wire harnesses for our CDUs and SKIDUs, all the way to aerospace connectors and the laser range finders. For our automotive products, we do have in the seat sensors, also in the power windows and the steering wheel assembly. This one we build in our Cebu facility, which is an hour flight from Manila. Mentioned earlier, part of our medical products that we launched last year are our medical grade face mask, and also we do assemble acoustic devices that aids in hearing. This one we mentioned earlier about our face mask. What we wanted to focus on today is how easy and low risk entry into the Philippines, working with various EMS companies. There are around a dozen EMS companies here located in the Philippines, and pretty much we do have very similar business models. In order for investors to come in with low risk into the Philippines, what we provide are the facilities, the technical support, the supply chain services, the human resource services. All our investors need to do is any specialty equipment, the primary training, and tech support. We provide the factory, we provide the whole management, including the labor force here in the Philippines. So at an onset, at the initial entry into the Philippines, it would be a low risk entry. Some of the products take 6 months, some products takes up to a year to go into mass production. Starting last year, we implemented SAP. We heard from USEC Fita earlier that the Philippines is in a roadmap to Industry 4.0. Our company has invested in SAP, the S4HANA SAP. Currently, within our organization, our supply chain, our planning, our production, engineering are all interconnected. And what we are doing now for our customers is connect our customers digitally to our factory. We want our customers to feel that they do have an extended factory in the Philippines. So from our customer side, the planning, you'll able to see the work in process, anything in inventory. You have full access into our system. And this Q1 or the first half of 2021, we are linking our suppliers, our top tier suppliers from our die casting, our plastic and rubber molding suppliers, and our milling and turning machine suppliers. We're all linking them into our system. So there is a complete seamless transaction from our foreign customers, foreign located customers, into our factory, into the whole supply chain. And this is transparent to our customers to see where their products are, where the work in process are, and what is available to ship. And this is part of our roadmap into Industry 4.0. One of the big advantages in the Philippines, and I believe we are the only country in the ASEAN that do have both the GSP status, which is dedicated to the United States. We have approximately over 5,000 items that are duty-free entry into the United States, as well as we have the GSP plus status into the EU, where we have over 6,000 tariff lines that have duty-free access. So the Philippines could be your center in manufacturing, in assembly, in product development that could serve both the US, and also if you do have customers in the EU, that would serve the EU. We're also trying now on working on our UK status. But within the ASEAN group, which is the 10-member nation collaboration of the ASEAN, within the ASEAN, we do have duty-free and tax-free shipments of goods. So we do have suppliers that come from Singapore and that come from Thailand that have duty-free and tax-free access and importation to our country. So the Philippines is right in the middle of possibly your customers in the US and also in the EU that could serve your global requirements. These are some of the GSP savings, just talking about the GSP, which makes it attractive to come to the Philippines. You know, these are products we make, currently we make. And one of the major reasons this customers transferred product, excuse me, from China and from Vietnam to the Philippines is because of the GSP, excuse me. It's because of the GSP savings. When you look at one of our Japanese customers, they save 38% in duties and taxes. And pretty much, it's at least on the average 30+% in duties and tax savings, shipping, assembling, and manufacturing from the Philippines. And these are some of the customers that we do. These are the potential business that have been transferred from primarily China, where they're currently manufacturing it, and extensively they're extending it, transfers from Indonesia and also to Vietnam into the Philippines, just to take advantage of the GSP and GSP plus status. When it comes to quality, which is a primary top priority for our company, we are certified in the various quality management systems, from the typical ISO 9001 to the automotive 16949, as well as we have our factory has been certified by TAPA. This is for the United States. It's a Transportation Asset Protection Association certification that we can ship to the United States much faster, and it will not bypass, but the products and parts that we ship to the United States will undergo less screening by customs and Homeland Security. Our company is dedicated to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So we do participate in the 17 modules of the SDG program, from education to zero hunger, protecting the environment, and also where we have our own factories, we do extend our services to the communities, in also employment within the communities where we have where we serve. Thank you very much, and I hope you got a little bit of flavor of what we do. Back to you, Graham. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Perry. Thanks for sharing the services and capabilities offered by the EMS Group, especially in terms of how it can support the offshore manufacturing requirements of OEM and ODM customers. Let me add here that I toured the EMS Group when they first started some 15 years ago, with all of 25 operators doing manual repair work. Today, 18,000 employees working in automated factories. It's really quite an impressive story. So let us proceed now to our panel discussion and question and answer session. Joining us for the panel discussion is Mr. Noel Ramirez, Chief Revenue Officer of the EMS Group. And I'm going to get the Q&A session going with the first question, and then we'll segue to the Q&A box to hear your questions. So actually the first question, I've got two questions here. The first one is, what are the key benefits of moving my manufacturing operations to the Philippines? And secondly, can you share information on the investment climate in the Philippines compared with its ASEAN neighbors? Thank you.
I will leave the investment side to Yusek Fita.
Okay.
And I would just say a couple of bullet points on why Philippines is attractive. And we heard it from Yusek Fita this morning. This is an alternative manufacturing hub, an assembly hub for your company. The primary resource that we have are people, easily trainable, loyal, and part of our roadmap is training our employees now and our human resource into digitalization. So one of the biggest assets of the Philippines are its people. The investment and low labor rates are also one of the assets here in the Philippines. I'll turn it over to Yusek regarding the incentives. Yusek?
Thank you, Perry, and I really like your presentation, by the way. So, well, you've heard from us, from the secretary, and this was also captured during my presentation. We've presented to you the plan of the Philippines as we face the future, as we face the new normal. We are embracing Industry 4.0 technologies in order for us to take advantage of all these opportunities. These new technologies would help us in terms of upgrading our industries, preparing the workforce, along with building the necessary digital infrastructure. We are also providing incentives that would facilitate the shift. And at the same time, we are building the supplier parts and components in order for us to strengthen the EMS ecosystem. Well, of course, Perry has also mentioned the availability of a young and a highly educated workforce. Well, our neighbors, they have aging population, but in the Philippines, you have a median age of 24 years old. We have 790,000 graduates, and more than 200,000 are in engineering, as well as in information technology and medical related fields. And nowadays, if you look at LinkedIn, the top emerging jobs in the Philippines are robotics engineering, cybersecurity specialists, data scientists, full stack engineer, data engineer, cloud engineer, and so on, which really is a signal that businesses in the country are gearing towards technology application and innovation. And by the way, many of our neighbors, and Singapore especially, they source their engineers, their scientists, especially those with PhDs in physics, for their data science specialization. Countries are sourcing their experts from the country, and we're glad that now we're able to bring back our PhDs and experts from Singapore. We have 3 right now, and they're actually leading the data science and the AI innovation roadmap that I mentioned to you a while ago. But on top of all of this, of course, we are also going to implement soon a new taxation and a new incentive system. We are just waiting for the president to sign the bill, which is called CREATE. And this will bring down the corporate income tax from 30% to 20%. It will also offer new incentives, especially for those that would be bringing innovative and high-tech activities, such as those in electronics and EMS products. And apart from the GSP Plus that Perry also mentioned, the Philippines was part of the countries that signed the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. And this would cover not just the 10 ASEAN countries, but as well as China, Japan, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. And this market is going to represent 2.2 billion people and 34% of outward investment, 30% of world GDP, and 28% of world trade. So can you imagine the opportunities both in both the economic, the market access, as well as the investment opportunities that could arise, that could emerge from this new partnership agreement? And of course, we're positioning the Philippines to be a hub, particularly in electronics and specifically in the EMS segment.
Thank you, Yusek
Thank
Vita.
you, Graham.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Graham, I just wanted to add
Yes.
on the human resource side for everybody, this second half, we will be rolling out several training programs nationwide in coordination with the state universities, training on cloud technology, programming, app development, and also AI. This is part of the roadmap of the government in digitalizing not only the Philippines, but its human resource. So there will be training programs that we will be rolling out. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Perry. All right, the next question is, how does talent in electronics in the Philippines compare with other countries in Asia?
Okay, we heard it from Yusek Fita earlier that when you look at the engineers and the design teams in and around our neighboring countries, surprisingly or not surprisingly, they are Filipinos. So the talent when it comes to development, design development, product development, and also sustaining engineering, we have it here in the Philippines. So it is a big task for us to bring them back here into the Philippines, together with bringing in investments and manufacturing, especially in technology here in the Philippines. When it comes to the talent, we do graduate over 500,000 in the university or in the collegiate side. We are implementing dual tech and TVET programs, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the digitalization type platform training. So I sincerely believe that we can compete with our ASEAN neighbors and also globally when it comes to electronic or electromechanical or talent related to electronics. Thank you.
Yes, yes, very good. I think one other point is that high-tech electronics has been in the Philippines for many years, since the 1970s. So we've developed technical expertise over a period of time. The next question, we have manufacturing presence in Asia, such as in Japan and China, but would like to diversify our manufacturing footprint. I'm speaking from a customer standpoint, a potential customer. How can the Philippines and the EMS Group complement our existing manufacturing facilities and operations?
Thank you, Graham. Similar to my presentation earlier, we've seen a lot of the foreign companies who has a major manufacturing base in China or other countries that are looking for a secondary assembly manufacturing plant. That is why amongst us EMS companies here in the Philippines, and not just us, our company, we have formed a group that can attract these investors in the Philippines and provide them an easy roadmap coming into the Philippines, low risk, because we do understand, especially during this challenging time during the pandemic, why should they invest heavily into a country that they're not familiar with? So that's why we do have an easy entry point first into the Philippines. Try the Philippines, try the workmanship, try the culture, try the way we do business. And then what we have seen after a year or two, then they bring in their capital and they want expansion, they want their own buildings. So we just added a preliminary step for these investors to come and make us like I don't want to use the word China plus one, but we've seen a lot of our new investors in our company having a secondary manufacturing or assembly site. What is good is in the past 3 years, after a year or 2 years, they want to grow in the Philippines, and together with the government, with BOI and DTI, we help them expand their factory or our facility to make it their own. Every foreign company wants to have their own building and their own name into it, which we do help them. So we just added that preliminary step of coming into the Philippines and trying them. So we do welcome that, and the team is here, the EMS, and also together with our coalition and the other EMS companies that we do work together. We have our own specialty, and our EMS has its own core competence. I'm saying we're not experts in all processes, but we do have other EMS companies that was mentioned earlier that we work together. So the Philippines has the competencies and all the technical expertise here that our coalition can help start up here in the Philippines. Thank you.
Very good. And that of course, is part of the theme of supply chain diversification and mitigating risk. Very, very good points, Perry. Thank you. The next question is, what IP protection exists with the EMS Group?
Thank you for that question. That is one of the critical points that every investor comes in. How do we protect our IP? Aside from non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality, which is all documentary, we do respect each and every customer's IP, and there are dedicated teams for each and every customer that we have. So far, after 16, 17 years in existence, we haven't had any IP or confidentiality issues with our company. That is one thing that we have trained our employees that aside from the medical grade face mask that we launched last year, aside from that, we do not have a product, and our product will grow and our business will grow by respecting the assets and intellectual property of our customers. So that one has been really embedded with our customers, whether they are locally based foreign investors or foreign based companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. The next question is, what estimated savings can my company achieve by moving to the EMS Group? And related to this, what support will my company receive in order to successfully move my project to the EMS Group? And you know, as a purchasing manager, this is really key for me. If I'm moving my operation 8,000 miles across the ocean, that transition to your factory is really the critical link.
Thank you, Graham. Just as a baseline, recently in the past 5 years, most of the companies who have moved here or have relocated their assembly and manufacturing to the Philippines, the majority came from China. And right off the bat, just in terms of labor cost, just labor cost in general, they saw a savings between 20% to 23% just on labor cost. And with the GSP, that was additional savings of, you saw in the charts earlier, that accumulated to an average of 30+%. Now, that is the hard monetary savings. Where, like we heard from Yusek Vita, there are incentive programs that is being, it's with our President Duterte's desk for signing, that it has enhanced incentives, as well as we have the Board of Investments and also DTI and other government agencies that help our companies or Philippine-based EMS companies transition smoothly from the logistics, from customs, and also from all the documentation, and also locating in an export processing zone. The assistance from the government is there right from day one. In fact, from the country, from the US, if you were planning to try the Philippines, our trade representatives in the Philippines, right from day one, would be there assisting, and there would be somebody from the government taking over once you are here. So I'll let you, Sekvita, add more to that when it comes to the government support. Thank you.
Yes, we have our Board of Investments as an investment promotion agency. We have our own group that would take care of your needs, even pre-investment, during your investment, post-investment. So all the support, all the necessary support is present, and it's not just through the Board of Investments, but there are other Philippine economic zones. There's also Subic, there's Clark, which are the alternative sites apart from locating in NCR. So you can go to Calabarzon area as well as in the Central Luzon, wherein we also have the Subic and the Clark. Subic is a free port zone. Clark is another special economic zone. There's also another one doing well in Bataan, and then up in the Visayas you have in Cebu, which also is specializing in electronics, and a lot of exciting developments await us as soon as the president signs the new incentive and tax system. But apart from those fiscal incentives, the non-fiscal support, I think, is a necessary element in order for your operations here in the country to become more successful.
Thank you very much, Yusek Vita. Our next question: does the Philippines have a Silicon Valley style hub for electronics where we can establish a network of suppliers and potential customers? And
okay.
I'm sorry, it's a two-part question. I'm sorry, Perry. And how can the EMS Group assist me in making the decision to outsource to the Philippines?
On the first part, do we have a Silicon Valley type? We have a similar zone in Calabarzon, which is a 40-minute ride from the airport, the Manila International Airport. This is where you'll see probably 70 to 75% of all the electronic companies are located, from semiconductor companies to large OEM companies. In fact, we've been a printer hub here in the Philippines for several years now, and more of these consumer products are coming in. And lately, in the past 4 years, with the government support, we have been increasing when it comes to product design and product development. So more and more, in fact, there is a large globally known company that they have relocated, they've started and relocated 420 product development engineers here in the south of Manila, which is that Calabarzon area. So what we are seeing now is a lot of design and development are shifting. I was going to say, use the word shifting here to the Philippines. So that's why more and more of our training programs are important and key factors for future success. We heard earlier about innovation centers. So there are innovation centers that are linked with industries. In particular, our semiconductor and electronics industry are linked with an innovation center that is close to in Laguna, in the south of Manila, that is being started. There are several innovation industry specific innovation centers that are in the pipeline now. So the Silicon Valley type, when you say Silicon Valley, you always think about, you know, the Apples, the Googles, and we're seeing a lot of that type of development here in the Philippines. We have the gaming programming that's being done, the software development when it comes to the cinemas and all those cartoon type, or I'm in the 60-plus-year-old, so I don't, I cannot really, but there's a lot of software development being done. We've seen it in the past 3 years here in the Philippines. Now, how can EMS assist in that? We're fortunate that we're part of that group in our industry, semiconductor and electronics in the Philippines, that we do work together. And if I do not have that competency, somebody in our membership does, and we work with them. So it is a very close-knit group in our organization industry that we do work together and help together, especially when it comes to foreign companies coming in to the Philippines. So we might be a front, like a facilitator for these transfers, but not necessarily the only company that might be involved in the transfers. We have the government support, and I might pull in one or two other key process companies who can assist in the transfer into that framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry.
Graham, can I
Yes,
add?
ma'am. Absolutely.
Very quickly, I know it's already past 8 o'clock, but I just would want to share as well that in terms of innovation, Philippines is really focusing our policies, our programs towards creating an innovation ecosystem. And I've mentioned also a while ago we're about to implement the artificial intelligence roadmap, where the goal is really to make the Philippines an AI center of excellence. We are training a lot of data scientists, and it's not only the DTI and BOI who are working along these lines, but we're working together with other government agencies, with our education department, the TechVoc, with TESDA, which is an attached agency of the DTI, as well as with the Department of Science and Technology. And hence, we're really trying to attract more design, more R&D to be carried out here in the Philippines, and link this together with your manufacturing operations, as is already currently being done by companies such as Dyson. They are in fact recruiting 400 engineers right now, in the process of building their R&D here in the country. And then, of course, in the aerospace, that's also happening, as well as in, I mentioned the case of Denso as well. So we're really trying to build this agglomeration of companies doing more high value added activities and linking our strengths in IT as well as in manufacturing, and for us to really be able to deepen our participation in the industries or the multinationals, the global value chains.
And thank you very much, Yusek Vita. This next question is referring to the key technology areas or locations in the Philippines. What are those key areas right now that are experiencing growth based on investment from companies offshore?
Graham, in our industry, in the electronics and semiconductor, there's two major areas where you'll see a lot of the companies located, and we're seeing a lot of growth. One is in Region 4A, which is Calabarzon, which is the one that is 40-minute drive south of the Manila International Airport. That's one. And a second one in Cebu, which is an island, an hour, 10 minutes flight from Manila. It's another hub of electronics and semiconductor facility. In fact, one of the oldest semiconductor companies, Fairchild, I don't know, I guess it is a U.S. company that, you know, they do have a strong presence here, Fairchild and Texas Instruments. So Fairchild is there in Cebu. So those two areas, in fact, they're quite busy right now, especially our semiconductor industry, which is seeing significant growth from last year, but their factories are full. As we all know, the chips now, the lead time is all the way out. So we have our semiconductor companies here at full blast, running their factories. So thank you, Graham.
Okay, thank you, Perry. And also related to that question is a question about the NCR region, National Capital Region. Does it still rank very high? I mean, we know that there's a lot of traffic and other challenges there, but does it rank high, relatively high in terms of investment and investment location?
I'll leave it to you, Sec.
Well, maybe for the IT business process outsourcing, business process management, the preference, of course, would be to locate in a highly urbanized area with all the urban amenities such as NCR. But in terms of manufacturing, it's really more going towards areas, towards regions outside of NCR, considering, of course, all the urban problems that we're encountering here. And actually, that's the policy of the government. And even in the incentives that are going to be launched soon, higher incentives would be given to investments that would be relocating or locating outside of NCR. And besides, we have really very good support in the Calabarzon area. There's still space available, as well as in Cebu, in Clark, in Subic, and other potential areas in the country. Iloilo is another potential area, Davao. So there's really just so much, and the people in terms of the workers, we are all working together with our partners from both industry and government in order to prepare the workers that future locators would be needing.
Thank you for addressing that question, Yusek Vita. And I think that's going to wrap up our Q&A session. And if you'd like to make some closing remarks, we would highly welcome those.
I'll start. We leave the best for last with Yusek. But when it comes to the Philippines, in particular EMS, assembly and manufacturing of your products, the Philippines is ripe. It has all the ingredients necessary for a company to have a safe place, a safe haven of assembly. In the Philippines, when you compare to our ASEAN neighbors, even China and Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, these countries, when you dig further, when you look at just the labor unrest, the strikes, they are significantly higher than what we have experienced here in the Philippines. So there is labor peace, I would call it. In our industry, surely there is labor peace here in the Philippines. So the production, the predictability of your factory or your products here in the Philippines is here. Supply chain, when you look at the companies in the future, if you're interested, when you look at the companies that are located here, the supply chain is here. What we are doing now is increasing the capacity of this supply chain to further accommodate the new investors. So when you have the large manufacturers here in the Philippines, a lot of the investors are misled, but that we do have difficulty or challenges in the supply chain. We do, but it's not on the talent. We do in terms of capacity building, which we are in the process of doing. So we welcome you to try the Philippines. Knock on wood, the ones who have come here has not left. So they expand here. So it speaks a lot for the Philippines. It is a hidden gem. I don't know why it's hidden, but it is a hidden gem. I don't know why it's right in the middle of everything. But for the companies that we have seen, and not just my company and other companies, they are here, and when they're here, they expand. And we are fortunate to have a government and like DTI, BOI, who was very supportive in setting up and hand-holding these investors all the way even to post setup. So it is here, and the companies who have come here have realized why didn't they do it sooner. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Perry. Yusek Vita, do you have any further?
Well, Perry said it all. I think.
I agree.
I mean, coming from the private sector, he knows
does.
what he's talking about. But let me also mention that, well, of course, the future, we don't look at the past anymore, but we're looking ahead. We're looking at the future and considering all the developments that have been happening, all the supply chain disruptions arising from the pandemic or arising from other natural calamities, including disruptions brought about by the rising global protectionism and also the US-China trade war. Well, the Philippines is here, and as an offer, it's being offered as an alternative, because one lesson would be not to concentrate all your investments or your supply chain in only one country. You need to be diversified, and hence Philippines has all the advantages. We have the people, we are building the infrastructure. We are capacitating our industries and our workforce in preparation for all these new technologies arising from the fourth industrial revolution. And hence, I'm really looking forward to more investments coming to the Philippines, particularly in the electronics, which is really a very strong focus of the Philippines.
Well, thank you so much, Yusek Vita. Greatly appreciate you addressing those questions that we asked. And this concludes our presentation. And I'd like to thank the panelists for the lively discussion. We apologize for not being able to get to all the questions in the Q&A. However, we will be sharing with the attendees the PowerPoint presentations as well as the answers to all your questions via the email you used to register. May I invite all the organizers of the webinar to join us, Ms. Lani Dormiendo and Mr. Ryan Ramos of the BOI, and the DTI representatives here in the US. That includes Mr. Nick Bautista from the Philippine Consulate in New York City, Mr. Raymond Batak, the Philippine Embassy in Washington, DC, Ms. Celine Layug, the Philippine Consulate in San Francisco, and Mr. Eric Elnar, the Philippine Consulate in Los Angeles. And we'd also like to include Mr. Mario Rivero, whose expertise greatly helped us in producing this webinar. Please note the contact information on the screen so you can get in touch directly with the EMS Group or with the BOI and DTI representatives here in the US. This webinar is the last installment of the four-part Make It Happen in the Philippines Electronics and Manufacturing webinar series. We'll be introducing another electronics and manufacturing series in the next 3 months, so please watch for that. We hope we've provided you with some valuable information on what we have to offer. Maraming salamat, and we look forward to seeing you again in our upcoming webinars.